Dr. John, New Orleans music icon, dies at 77. Video provided by WWL-TV. The flamboyant New Orleans singer-pianist, whose hoodoo-drenched music made him the summarizing figure of the Grand Crescent City R&B/rock and roll tradition, died Thursday of a heart attack at age 77. Towards the break of day June 6, iconic music legend Malcolm John Rebennack, Jr., known as, passed away of a heart attack, a statement on his social media pages said. The family thing, Rebennack had already tallied more than a decade of experience as a session musician in his hometown in Los Angeles when he rose to solo fame in the late 60s after concocting his voodoo-influenced, patois-laced persona of the Night Tripper. In their history of post-war New Orleans music up from the cradle of jazz, Jason Berry, Jonathan Foose, and Tad Jones wrote richly of the artist they called a true original. After flashing his fantastical character on a quartet of early albums that garnered him an enthusiastic underground following, Dr. John settled in to become New Orleans' great latter-day exponent of bayou funk and jazz, playing in a style that reconciled the diverse streams of the city's music. His early 70s work was distinguished by a collection of historic New Orleans favorites, Gumbo, and a pair of albums with famed New Orleans producer-arranger-songwriter Alan Toussaint and funk quartet The Meters U, the first of which, In the Right Place, spawned a top 10 hit. He memorably branched into traditional pop with his 1989 album Sentimental Journey. The album spawned, Dr. John would delve deeper into jazz terrain later in his peripatetic career with Blue Sienna Triangle, a collaboration with saxophonist David Fathead Newman and drummer Art Blakey, and homages to Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong. But the earthy R, in 2008, his Grammy-winning collection City That Care Forgot dwelled movingly on the havoc wreaked on his city by 2005's Hurricane Katrina. As an in-demand sideman, he recorded with Levon Helm, Greg Allman, Van Morrison, Harry Connick, Jr., Ringo Starr, and B.B. King, among others. His turns on the big screen ranged from a memorable performance in Martin Scorsese's documentary about the band's farewell performance, The Last Waltz 1978, to an appearance as a member of the fictional Louisiana Gator Boys and Blues Brothers 1998. He guested regularly. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011. He was born Malcolm John Mac Rebennack, Jr., in New Orleans on November 21, 1940, and raised in the city's 3rd Ward. He grew up in a Fats Domino's guitarist Walter Papoose Nelson became an inspiration and mentor. In his early teens, by the time he dropped out of Jesuit high school in the 11th grade, he had already acquired a taste for heroin and the chops to work as a session guitarist at J&M, where he played his first date behind singer Paul Gaydon. During this period, he got to know some of the city's most influential keyboardists, including Professor Longhair and the eccentric virtuoso James Booker, who taught him to play organ and later joined Dr. John's touring band. He recorded steadily, appearing on local hits by Jerry Byrne Lights Out and Rolling Stone Down the Road, aka Junko Partner, and as a leader including the 1959 instrumental Storm Warning. He also worked on Christmas Eve 1961 on a tour stop in Jacksonville, Florida. Rebennack and pianist Ronnie Barron got involved in a scuffle with a motel owner, and the guitarist was shot in his fretting hand, nearly severing the ring finger on his fretting hand. During a slow recovery, the studio scene in New Orleans was beginning to dry up in the early 60s when Rebennack was busted for heroin possession, drawing a 2-year sentence in federal prison in Texas. On his release from jail in 1965, he headed to Los Angeles, where a group of New Orleans expatriates that included producer-arranger Harold Batiste had set up shop as studio musicians. He worked with, in L.A., Rebennack moved to fulfill a lingering musical concept grounded in New Orleans history that he had originally developed for the reluctant Ronnie Barron. In his 1994 autobiography Under a Hoodoo Moon, he wrote, In the 1840s and 1850s, one New Orleans rude doctor was preeminent in the city for the awe in which he was held by the poor and the fear and notoriety he inspired among the rich. Known variously, using studio time left over from a Sonny and Cher session, Rebanak and Batiste cut an album of hazy, incantatory songs steeped in Crescent City voodoo imagery. Issued by Atlantic, 3 more similarly styled albums: U Babylon 1969, Remedies 1970 and The Sun, Moon and Herbs 1971. U deepened the Dr. John image. The latter album, however, he turned away from his original swampy style for an album he described in the notes as more gumbo, less gris. Co-produced by his first set with Toussaint and the Meters became his biggest commercial success. In the Right Place number 24, 1973 included the number 9 single Right Place Wrong Time. While the follow-up, A Schism with Atlantic U, possibly prompted by Wexler's daughter Anita's introduction to heroin by Dr. John U, led to a period of label jumping by the musician. In 1989, he landed at Warner Brothers Records. Within a cent, he abided as an eminence gris for the remainder of his career. He settled in for the intensely felt City That Care Forgot was succeeded by the atypical Lockdown for None Such Records in 2012. The album
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. I keep fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.